Inshallah, I'm going to mention a story of a companion, and I'm going to link it, inshallah, a little to what's happening today and what's been happening since Thursday. The story is about Umair ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu. Umair was an orphan at a young age. He was poor and destitute, him and his mother. And his mother remarried to Julas ibn Suwaid from the Aus. The Aus and the Khazraj were the two tribes at war before the Prophet ﷺ came and made peace between them. He looked after him well. He looked after Julas looked after Umair well, and he loved him as a father would love his son. Julas loved Umair's intelligence, his honesty, his trustworthiness, and the intelligence he displayed in everything that he did. Intelligence, subhanAllah, is something us Muslims are very well known for. We fall into the hole 10 times and we fall into it again. Where did the hole come from? Subhanallah. So Umair, he never used to delay any prayers behind the Prophet ﷺ. He would always be seen going to and fro from the mosque with or without his stepfather. He wouldn't wait for his stepfather to take him along. In the 9th year of Hijrah, who knows when the Hijrah calendar started? When the Prophet ﷺ died, right? Is that right? Anyone? Hijrah, it means migration. So when the Prophet ﷺ migrated, that's the 1st year of Hijrah. The Prophet ﷺ died in the 10th year of Hijrah. So in the 9th year of Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ was preparing for the battle of Tabuk. Umair was still young, very young. So Umair comes back from the mosque and he's so excited. He just saw women selling their jewelry and their ornaments to buy provisions and equipment for the Mujahideen. He just saw Uthman radiallahu anhu donate 1,000 gold coins, and Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu donating 200 awqiyah of gold. And he even saw a man selling his own bed just to buy a sword. His own bed, that means he doesn't want to come back. Now normally, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was going to a battle, he would not give the details of that battle. Except for this battle of Tabuk. Why? Because this battle was extremely hard. It was so far away in the Roman Empire. Such a strong army. In the middle of summer through the desert. And right at the time where the dates were ripe to be picked. And back then, that was their whole livelihood for the whole year. If they had dates, they've got to pick it to live for the rest of the year. So a lot of the munafiqeen started showing up. Now Umair, when he came to his father Julas and he was telling him that people have done this and that and so on and so forth and given and so on for the Mujahideen, he was excited and he was trying to encourage his father or his stepfather to donate and to help for the cause. But the exact opposite happened. Umair told his father that, and Julas said, if Muhammad is true in claiming that he is a prophet, this is a man who used to go with him to the front line behind the Prophet ﷺ. He said, if Muhammad is true in claiming that he is a prophet, then we are all worse than donkeys. Umair was shocked. Umair was extremely shocked. He started thinking, this is a man who was clearly a munafiq, who's clearly hiding that he is a Muslim, but in reality he is not. At the same time, this is a man who took him out of the streets, took him out of poverty. They were extremely poor and hungry and destitute. And this man took him in and he raised him like a son. And he loved him. And he marveled at his intelligence. So what does he do? So Umair said, by Allah, O Julas, there is no one on the face of this earth after the Prophet ﷺ that is dearer to me than you. But you are the closest of men to me. And you have been most generous to me, but you have uttered words that which if I should mention them, will expose you and humiliate you. However, if I conceal them, I will be a traitor to my religion and destroy myself and my iman. Therefore, I will go to the Prophet ﷺ and tell him what you said, and it is up to you to clarify your situation or your stance. So Umayr went to the Prophet ﷺ and he told him what he said. So the Prophet ﷺ asked Julas, what did you say that Umayr ibn Sa'ad has heard? And he told him what Umayr said. Julas said, he has lied against me, O Prophet of Allah. He has lied against me. Now you're looking at a 10-year-old kid said something, and a man who was constantly in the front row behind the Prophet ﷺ saying something else. Who would you believe? As it is, it was hard enough for Umayr to tell the Prophet ﷺ what his stepfather had did. So he said, he has lied against me, O Prophet of Allah. And the companions looked at each other and they looked at their faces and to try to find out who's saying the truth. The hypocrites began trying to humiliate Umayr. And the Muslims, and some of the Muslims were standing up for him. The Prophet ﷺ looked at Umayr bin Sa'ad and he saw his flushed face and his tears streaming down his cheeks. Now Umayr here is in a very difficult situation. But he stood firm. He stood his ground. He never gave up his deen, even for the man he loved most after the Prophet ﷺ. And he said, "O Allah, send down a revelation to your Prophet to verify what I have told him." Meanwhile, Julas told the Prophet ﷺ, "What I have told you, O Prophet of Allah, is certainly true. If you wish, make me swear an oath in your presence. I swear by Allah that I did not say anything of the sort that Umayr reported to you." The companions now, back then, there were people who never used to lie. Omar radiallahu anhu said, we never used to belie one another. We were a people who never used to lie. Even Abu Sufyan, while he was a kafir, he would not lie about the Prophet ﷺ, who he was against. So the companions now turned to Umayr to hear what he has to say. As they were looking at him, the Prophet ﷺ received revelation saying, and the translation of the verse is, that the hypocrites swear by Allah that they have said nothing wrong, yet most certainly they have uttered a saying which is a denial of the truth. The verse continues, and in the end it says, hence if they repent, it will be for their own good. Julas broke down and he said, I do repent, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, I do repent. And Umayr has said the truth and I have lied. I beg Allah Azza wa Jal to accept my repentance. The Prophet ﷺ looked at Umayr bin Sa'ad and he said, young man, your ear has been true in what it has heard, and your Lord has confirmed the truth of what you had said. Subhanallah, a young child. He stood his ground. He defended his religion. And Allah Azza wa Jal revealed this verse specifically for him. How great is that? 1400 years later we read this verse and it was revealed for him and anyone of the likes. So when Julas, later when Umayr ibn Sa'ad was mentioned, Julas would say, may Allah reward Umayr with goodness on my behalf. He certainly saved me from kufr and preserved my neck from the fire of hell. Later, Umar ibn al-Khattab chose Umayr radiallahu anhu to be a governor of Homs in Syria. Even though he was at the head of the Muslim army, destroying enemy forts and building mosques wherever he went. And this was all while he was in his early 20s. Look at the sidq of this and the ikhlas of this companion. He was in his early 20s and he was opening city after city, building mosques wherever he went. And on top of that, Omar radiallahu anhu, who used to be very strict in the picking and the choosing of his governors, chose him to be a governor of Homs. Umayr ibn Sa'ad spent a full year in Homs, but he did not write a single letter to Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, nor did he send any taxes to the Muslim treasury in Medina. Now Umar always used to worry about his governors, Umar radiallahu anhu, that they might get corrupted. And he used to go and pick on them. Make sure that they haven't taken anything. So after a year of no letters and no taxes, Umar started worrying. He sends a letter to Umayr and says, when this letter reaches you, leave the city of Homs and come to Umar radiallahu anhu and bring whatever taxes you have collected from the Muslims and every single belonging that you own. When Umayr radiallahu anhu received this letter, he took a food pouch. And and he's drinking and hung his drinking water and he's eating and his food and he's washing utensils over his back, over his shoulder. He took a spear and he went to Medina walking. From Homs to Medina. Walking. When he arrived, he was badly sunburnt. His body was gone and his hair had grown long. When Umar radiallahu anhu saw him, he asked him, what's wrong with him? In reply, he said, nothing is wrong. I am fine and healthy, alhamdulillah. And I came with all my worldly possessions. I've got nothing else other than these that are on my back. Didn't you at least, Umar said to him, didn't you at least get a riding animal from your amirship, from being the emir of what's it called, of Homs? He said, they did not give me one and I did not ask. Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to make him governor for another year, but he refused and he went back to his family in Medina. After a while, Umar radiallahu anhu, being Umar and being the strong and tough man he was and the strict person on the haqq that he was, wanted to make sure that Umayr didn't take anything from the governorship, from the governing of Syria. So he sends Al-Harith with a bag of 100 dinars. And he told him, go to Umayr, stay at his house for 3 days. If you see him in a good state, take the 100 dinar and come back. If you see him in a bad state, give him the 100 dinar and come to me and tell me what had happened. Al-Harith went to Umayr and gave him the bag of money. Umayr refused, before that, Al-Harith came and lived with Umayr for 3 days. At the end of the 3rd day, all he had been served or given in those 3 days was a loaf of bread. On the 3rd day, a companion sees Al-Harith and tells him, what is wrong with you? Don't you have a heart? He told him, what is wrong? He goes, you are living with Umayr. He is in extreme poverty. All he has to eat is that loaf of bread and he has given it to you. What are you still doing there? So Al-Harith gives him the 100 dinars and he goes back to Umar radiallahu anhu and tells him what the situation was. As soon as he gets back and tells him what had happened, Umayr radiallahu anhu, he sends a letter to Umayr and told him to come to him again. What do you think Umayr did with that money? He was in extreme poverty. He never slept that night until he had given all the money out, especially to the orphan people, orphan children whose fathers had died as shuhada. Now he comes to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He said, tell me what you have done with the 100 dinar I have sent you. So Umayr replies to him, you have no right to ask me about the money you have given me after you have given it to me. So Umar radiallahu anhu tells him, I make you swear by Allah to tell me what you have done with it. He replied to him very simply, I stored it away for myself so that I could benefit it from it on a day when neither wealth or children can be of any avail. I stored it away in a place where it will help me on a day when no children, no wealth, no nothing can help me. What have we stored for our akhirah? What have we left for our akhirah so that it can help us, so it can stand by us? Umar radiallahu anhu cried and he gave him a camel load of food and 2 garments. And still, again, Umayr said, as for the food, I don't need it because I've got 2 handfuls of barley with my family, and when they finish, Allah will provide. But as for the 2 garments, I will take them for my wife, for verily her dress is now in tatters and she is almost naked. She is sitting at home, almost naked. That's how poor this man is. Umayr radiallahu anhu died a little while later, and Umar said, I had wished that to have men like Umayr ibn Sa'ad, whose help I could seek in dealing with the affairs of the Muslims. Just like Ali radiallahu anhu said, when the man came up to him and told him, Oh Ali, at the time of Umar and Abu Bakr, there was no trouble, there was no fitna, there was no war between the Muslims. Why is it in your time there's all this trouble? So Ali radiallahu anhu replied to him, because at the time of Umar he had men like me, and at the time of me I have men like you, who complain rather than do and act and fix. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, why did I mention this story? And what does it have to do with what's happening today? There's a few benefits from this story. The first, look at the keenness and the love for the deen of Umair. Look at the striving and the sacrificing for the deen. So much so that even Allah Azza wa Jal revealed a verse for him. And look at how, even though he loved, subhanAllah, today people are very materialistic. As soon as someone gives him a bit of money or has got a bit of benefit, he'll sell his deen, his religion, so he can get or benefit this thing. Isn't that right? It's happening around the world. Overseas, $100 they'll buy you. You become their puppets. You vote for them and so on and so forth. You've got to put up their pictures. People sell their deen very easily. This man took him out of the street. He was dying from starvation, him and his mother. And he took him out of the street and he treated him better than he would treat his own son. Yet that did not make him fail or falter. That did not make him sell his religion. Immediately he went and he told the Prophet ﷺ what he had said. He stood his ground. So that Allah Azza wa Jal, what was the result? Allah Azza wa Jal revealed a verse just for him. He guided his stepdad and he made him later on the head of a Muslim army and the governor of Homs. Look how much he sacrificed and he strived throughout his whole life. And yet at the end of his life, he still barely had anything. His wife was sitting at home almost naked. That's how little he had. Yet he stayed firm. And when he received donations, he gave them again fi sabilillah. What have we sacrificed for Allah Azza wa Jal? What have we done? Are we going to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal one day? Don't we need something to stand up for us on that day? When our own children run after us and take away our hasanat for not giving them their rights. When our own parents run after us and taking their hasanat because we harmed them or didn't give them their rights. I heard the Sheikh once saying on the Day of Judgment, not only would a man run after his child and take his hasanat, but if he saw him falling off the Sirat al-Mustaqim, he wouldn't only not help him, he would walk and step over him and make him fall in just to save himself. Don't we need someone to help us or something to help us on the Day of Judgment? What action have we done to be proud to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal with? Can we mention anything? By Allah, Wallahi, I have been 5 or 6 years studying overseas. Until today, I haven't got an action that I'll be proud to stand in front of Allah with. Isn't that a shame? I think everyone here is in the same boat. What are we going to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal with? When there were angels which Allah created, from the second they were created till the second they were destroyed, they were in sujood to Allah. When they see the Day of Judgment, they will say, Ya Allah, we did not do justice in your worship. We should have worshipped you more. How could they have worshipped Allah more? They were in sujood, their entire being. What have we done to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal? SubhanAllah, on Thursday, the day I arrived, a few raids, a few people locked up, one person charged, people start shaking. They start getting scared. They start leaving their deen. One sister leaves her hijab, a brother shaves his beard. Are you serious? People were chopped in half with swords and they didn't give up their religion. People were chopped in half with swords. The companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Musaylama grabbed him, he told him, do you believe that Muhammad is Rasulullah? He said, yes. He said, do you believe I'm Rasulullah? He said, I can't hear you. He chopped off a limb. Did he buckle? Did he give up? Did he falter? He asked him again. He's got a limb chopped off. Blood is spilling out. Do you believe Muhammad is Rasulullah? Yes. Do you believe I'm Rasulullah? I can't hear you. He chopped off another limb. He continued this until he died. We're scared of a few raids. 200 people, 200 places raided and one charge, and we're scared. People used to be combed with an iron comb, ripping off their skin. SubhanAllah, the skin, where all the pain, where all the nerves are, where all the pain is felt. That's why Allah, on the Day of Judgment in hellfire, the people, their skin is very thick, so they can feel the punishment. Their skin was combed with iron combs and they did not give up their religion. We give up our religion for one person that went to jail? Put that aside. Let's say these are the men of the past. In Syria, we've seen the videos. A man being buried alive screaming, La ilaha illallah. My own friend's friend, my own friend, a student of knowledge who taught me for an entire year. His friend in his area was grabbed by the army and told to bear witness or to believe, make shahada in Bashar al-Assad. He refused, so they burnt him alive. And this was in the beginning when it was still peaceful. They burnt him alive saying the shahada. This is our time. You can't make excuses and say these were the men of the past, the companions of Rasulullah. This is our time. A woman beaten, raped and thrown in the street naked. They specifically positioned the snipers around so that anyone who tried to cover her would get shot. One after the other, and the video is still on YouTube maybe. One after the other, the Muslim men would try to grab her, just to cover her, to protect her dignity, her shame, her honor. And one after the other they died, and they continued until they grabbed her. And now our sisters are willingly stripping. They died for her honor. And our sisters are willingly stripping. Not only are they willingly stripping, but if you come to try to talk to them or advise them, Allahu Akbar. Guantanamo. What is wrong with us? Don't you know Allah Azza wa Jal put us on this earth to test us? He's testing us. He's seeing what you're going to do when you're under pressure. It's easy to speak. It's easy to say, I believe. It's easy to say, I will do and I will do. Words are cheap. Where's your action? People stop coming to the mosque. Allahu Akbar. Look, this is the time when we need Allah Azza wa Jal the most. This is the time when we should turn to Allah the most. You move away from Him. In the times of hardship, turn to Allah. That's our whole aqeedah. Turn to Allah in times of ease and He'll turn to you in times of hardship. Nahna, when it's easy, I'll try to make it to the mosque. When it's hard, Asia is watching the Kimber Mosque. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. In Banyas, in Syria, the people used to, and this is in the beginning when it was still peaceful, they used to come to the peaceful protest in Banyas in their kafan. They used to come to it in their kafan, in the cloth that they'll be buried with. They don't care anymore. They're standing up for Allah, they're standing up for the haqq, for their deen. What is wrong with us? Instead of turning to Allah Azza wa Jal, at the time we need Him most, we turn away, we close our eyes, we block our ears, and we pretend we can't see what's happening around the world. Don't you think Allah Azza wa Jal is going to question you for that girl who was screaming out, begging for someone to help her, and you never did anything? By Allah, He will judge us for it. By Allah, He will judge us for it. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you forsake your brother in a time of need, Allah will forsake you in a time of need. Allahu Akbar. What a statement. Do you know what that means? That means on the day of judgment, when you will need Allah the most because absolutely no one can help you other than Him, He will forsake you. May Allah have mercy on us. May Allah have mercy on us and forgive our shortcomings, because if someone forsakes a brother, a Muslim forsakes his Muslim brother at a time of need, Allah will forsake him at a time of need. Let me bring this hadith a bit closer. Listen to what happened when Omar asked about a governor that he put to govern a country. This companion's name was Sa'id bin Amir radiallahu anhu. Omar had full confidence in Sa'id ibn Amir. Like if he would ask about the other governors 2 or 3 or 4 times, he would ask about Sa'id only once. That's how much confidence he had in Sa'id. So he asked around, and everyone said nothing but good about Sa'id, except for one person. He said, I have 4 complaints about Sa'id. The first is that he shows up late for work every day. The second is that he never comes out at night, no matter how much we knock on his door. The third is that once a week he disappears and we can't ask for help or we can't turn to him. And the fourth, that he would be sitting in court and he would just drop and faint. Omar was shocked. He had complete confidence in Sa'id. Yeah, Sa'id, what is going on? So Sa'id explains, listen to what he explained. He said, as for showing up late for work, he said, I do not have any servants. So I have to prepare my dough, crush it, bake it, and cook it myself. So every morning, I try my utmost to start as early as I can. Yet from Fajr till the time I arrive to work, that's how long it takes me every day to just bake a bit of bread so I can eat and come to work. As for the second, the reason I never come out at night is because, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have given half of my entire life to the Ummah, to the people. The other half is for Allah. I spend the whole night in prayer. That's why I do not answer my door. The third, I disappear once a week, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, because I only have one pair of clothing. And once a week, I must wash these clothes. And these clothes that I wash, I don't have any other to wear. So I sit and wait until they dry so I can put them back on. And as for the fourth, and this is the reason why I mentioned this right here, according to help us understand the hadith, the previous hadith, that he who forsakes a Muslim brother in need or sister, Allah will forsake him in a time of need. He said, when I was young and a mushrik, he was still a kafir, a mushrik. He said, I witnessed the execution of Khubayb al-Ansari, who was captured and executed. They were cutting off the flesh of his body to make him suffer and die a slow death. Then they crucified him and asked him, would you rather have the Prophet ﷺ in your place? And he replied, I would not rather be with my family in security and amongst my beloved ones and have the Prophet ﷺ pricked by a thorn. He said, every single time I remember that day and how I did nothing to help him, I feel that Allah will never forgive me and I faint. And he was a mushrik. He was a kafir. And when you enter Islam, all your sins are forgiven. How much worse is it today around the world? How much worse is it today around the world and we don't even blink an eye? He is worried that Allah will never forgive him, and he even accepted Islam after that. That means all his sins are forgiven. If you forsake a Muslim brother or sister in need, in a time of need, Allah will forsake you in a time of need. Imagine Allah Azza wa Jal forsakes you on the Day of Judgment. On a day where everyone's running around screaming as if they're drunk, when people are naked and squashed on one platform, begging prophet to help them, burning under the sun. You're watching people burning and screaming and drowning in their own sweat. The Prophet ﷺ said, if a man were to be dragged on his face from the moment he was born to the moment he died, on the Day of Judgment he will see it as insignificant. If he were dragged on his face, how much pain is that? If he were dragged on his face from the second he was born till the second he died in the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, on the Day of Judgment he will see it as insignificant. He did nothing for Allah. A child's hair will turn grey. The oceans exploding into flames. The mountains exploding into dust. You know those massive bombs they throw? They make a little dent in the mountain. Imagine the force it would take to make a mountain explode into dust. Imagine seeing the earth split open and bodies thrown out of the ground. Imagine seeing the sky crack open and you're literally watching the planets smash into each other and fall out of orbit. Imagine Allah Azza wa Jalla on this day when you need Him most and you have no one else but Him. He forsakes you because you forsook, if that's right. You had forsaken your Muslim brothers and sisters in Islam. The wife of the Prophet ﷺ was once sitting in a gathering. The Prophet ﷺ was giving a talk and she was sitting at the back with the women. As he was giving this talk, he said something that she did not hear because there was an uproar of crying from the companions, radiallahu anhum. She was listening to the Prophet ﷺ. He said something and the entire mosque, every single companion exploded into tears. So she did not hear what he said. So she asked the companion, what did Rasulullah ﷺ say? Prophet ﷺ at that time, he was speaking about the fitna and the trials and tribulations of the Dajjal. And he said, never before has there been a fitna from Adam till my time and till the day of judgment greater than the Dajjal, and he's going to come at your time. He's going to come in your ummah, in our ummah. And the companions exploded into tears. This is the Dajjal. This is the Dajjal who every single prophet from Adam warned his people about. This is the Dajjal who a man would tie up his wife and his children at home so that they don't go and fall for the tricks and follow the Dajjal. This is the Dajjal who a true believer, a true mu'min, the Prophet ﷺ hadith states, a true mu'min, he would go to face the Dajjal and to bring him down, and he would end up becoming his follower. This is the Dajjal who would come with rain, with crops, with wealth, with cattle. He would bring back the dead. He would have Jannah and Jahannam in his hand. This is the Dajjal who the Prophet ﷺ himself, the greatest man who ever set foot on the face of this planet, wouldn't finish his prayer every time. He would not finish a prayer except he would make dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min sharri fitnati al-masih al-dajjal. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from the evil fitna of the Dajjal. Imagine at that time if it came in our time or in our children's time, Allah forsook us or had forsaken us for forsaking our Muslim brothers and sisters. He who forsakes a Muslim brother or sister in need, Allah Azza wa Jalla will forsake them in a time of need. Stand firm to your deen. Turn back to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Let's fix up our situation. Every single one of us here, illa man rahima Rabbi, every single one of us here is in the same state I am. I have nothing to be proud to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla with. Fix your state. Listen to what one of the scholars asked his friend who was in a bad state, who was far from Allah. He said, are you happy to die in the state you're in? He said, no. Are you happy to die, or if you were to die in the state that you are in? He said, no. He said, all right. Tayyib, are you trying and attempting to change the state you are in into a state that you would be pleased to die in? He said, no. He said, I don't understand. Is there another life, a life after this life, where you can rely on to fix your state? He said, no. This man's mind was blown. He goes, can you guarantee that death won't come while you're in this state? He goes, no. He goes, by Allah, I have never seen a sane man stay in the state that you are right now. I have never seen a sane man continue in the state that you are now. How does that make sense? Do you want to die like the way you are? No. Are you fixing your state so you can die in a way that you'll be pleased to die? No. I don't understand. Is there another life where you could fix your state before you go to the hereafter? He goes, no. So this is the final place that you can fix it, right? Yeah. Can you guarantee death isn't going to come to you while you're in this state? No. How can you stay in this state? How can you claim to be sane, to be right in the head, and continue in this state? Let us fix our state. Let us turn back to Allah Azza wa Jalla. We were the greatest ummah. We are the greatest ummah to ever set foot on this planet, to ever be sent forth to mankind. What happened to us? What happened to us? The kuffar used to leave their countries, learn Arabic and come to learn in our universities. What happened to us? We left our deen. We turned away from Allah. Anytime a little raid happened, that's how history is going to tell it. The people of Australia, the Muslims of Australia, a few raids happened and they shaved off the beads and never came back to the mosque. We were the greatest ummah to ever set foot or to ever be sent forth to mankind. Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Musa, one of the 5 top prophets who ever lived. One of the top 5 prophets who ever lived. One of the prophets who had the greatest of miracles. Kalimullah, the one who spoke to Allah one-on-one. Musa alayhi salam wanted to be one of us. He wanted to give up his prophethood to be one of us. Didn't Allah Azza wa Jal tell him, "O Musa, a nation is going to come where they will have the word of Allah in their hearts"? He said, "Ya Allah, make them one of the Quran. May Allah make them my nation." He said, "No, that's for the nation of Ahmad, us, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." So Allah Azza wa Jal tells him, Ya Musa, there will be a nation to come last. There will be the last to come out of all of mankind, that will be the first to judge. They don't have to wait till the end of the 50,000 years to be judged. Oh Allah, make it my people, my nation. No, that is the nation of Ahmad, of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's us. Oh Musa, there will be a people there will be a nation that will come after you that will do the work of the prophets. Ya Allah, make it my nation, the da'wah, al-amr bil ma'ruf al-nahy an al-munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil. Ya Allah, make it my nation. Ya Musa, it is the nation of Ahmad, of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said, Ya Allah, make me one of them. I don't want to be a prophet anymore. Just make me one of them. Just make me one of them. How sad is that? How sad is that? He wants to be one of us. Look at our state. We have let down Allah Azza wa Jal. We have let down the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're too busy with our cars and our work. We run after the dollar as if we worship it. We spend money on things, Allahu Akbar, about the judgment of these things on the Day of Judgment. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anhu, the man who spent his entire life spending to the Prophet ﷺ, spending for the Prophet ﷺ, spending. He was very rich. He would always spend in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal. When he died, he single-handedly took care of all the wives of the Prophet ﷺ he left behind. The whole family of the Rasulullah ﷺ. One day, in the distance, dust and clouds began to rise. The Muslims in Medina gathered. The ground began to shake and the dust was rising. They thought it was an army coming to attack. Aisha, radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, saw all the commotion. What's going on? She came out. It ended up being the qafila, how do you translate qafila? The qafila of Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. The wealth of Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. He had camels and each camel had a certain amount of wealth on that. That was the money he had made. I think it was 100 camels. 100 camels filled with wealth. People were so amazed that when it didn't turn out to be an army, they still called the rest of them to come and see, look at this wealth. Aisha radiallahu anhu came out, is this what you all gathered for dunya? By Allah, I heard the Prophet ﷺ say that Abdul Rahman ibn Auf will enter paradise crawling because of how much money he had. What does that mean? Because we all know the poor will enter paradise 500 years before the wealthy, because they have to be judged for every dollar where it came and where it went. So the judgment will be longer. So that means that Abdul Rahman ibn Auf will enter paradise as if he's crawling, so slowly after the poor. And this is whilst he was one of the 10 Mubashirin bil Jannah, one of the 10 who were guaranteed paradise. See what wealth does to you? See what wealth does to you? And we run after it as if we worship it. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, when he heard this, he gave his entire wealth, his entire belongings, everything he ever amounted to until that moment, fi sabilillah. And he said to Aisha, I would like to enter paradise running. But the Prophet ﷺ said he's going to enter crawling, so he's going to enter after, even though he gave everything he owned. We were the greatest nation ever sent forth to mankind because we enjoined the good, we forbid the evil, and we believed in Allah. We didn't run after the money. We didn't run after the wealth. We stood by each other and we supported each other. Now we can't even support each other within the same area. Our own families, the brother doesn't talk to the sister and the sister doesn't talk to the mum. How is Allah Azza wa Jal going to give us victory? We have to change our state. We have to turn back to Allah Azza wa Jal. We have to increase our ibadah, our worship. We have to increase our dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. We have to perfect our actions, our manners. We have to do a'mal salihah, good actions that we can stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal and be proud to get the reward for these actions. Because no one enters paradise just with iman. Or at least he won't enter it before he goes to hellfire. No one enters paradise until he has a'mal salihah. Every single ayah in the Quran, when he mentions iman, or most of the ayat, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. So give glad tidings to those who believed and done righteous actions. Not just believe by itself, it's not enough. Another verse, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. And the ones who believed and done righteous actions, they are the ones who will be the people of paradise. Another verse, وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَيُوَفِّيهِمْ أُجُورَهُم. As for the ones who believe in Allah and do good actions, Allah will reward them for their actions. Will give them the reward, the full reward of their actions. And the simplest and the smallest surah in the Quran, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. By the time, Allah Azza wa Jal is swearing by the time, verily mankind is in loss. Me and you, we are in loss automatically. We are in loss, except those who believe and do righteous actions and enjoin the truth, call for the truth, and call for patience. So actions. We have to fix our actions. We have to turn back to Allah Azza wa Jal. Uqba ibn Amir radiallahu anhu was a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who was a shepherd. Look at what happens when you turn to Allah. Look at what happens when you stay by Allah Azza wa Jal. He was a shepherd. He owned 12 sheep. That's it. That's not enough to live on. He owned 12 sheep. That's it. That was his entire wealth. He went and he gave bay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He left the middle of the desert and he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and gave him bay'ah. But he went back to his sheep. He's too poor to live. He was so poor and worried about his 12 sheep. That's all he owned. That he would, when his friends would leave to go listen to the Prophet ﷺ and learn, he would tell them, you go, leave your sheep with me. I can't leave my sheep. I can't afford to even lose one sheep. That's how poor he was. So for a long time, his friends would leave their sheep with him and go learn from the Prophet ﷺ and come back and teach him. One day he looked at himself. He goes, woe to you. Is it because of a flock of sheep that you remain thin and wretched and lose the opportunity to be the Prophet in the company of Rasulullah ﷺ and speak directly to him? SubhanAllah, when you take one handspan towards Allah, He takes two towards you. When you take one arm's length towards Allah, He takes two towards you. And when you go to Allah Azza wa Jal, the greatest walking, He'll come to you running. He took one handspan to Allah. He left his sheep and he went and he stayed by the Prophet ﷺ. Within 10 years, he became one of the most outstanding scholars amongst all of the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ. He became one of the most beautiful reciters of Quran, a military commander and a governor of Islam. A governor of Islam, a shepherd who owned 12 sheep became a governor of Islam. Whoever thought a shepherd would free Damascus, which they called at that time the mother of the universe? Whoever thought a shepherd would become one of the commanders who opened up Egypt, which was called the emerald of the world at that time? A shepherd. So really, the opportunities are endless. We're standing in our own way. We're standing in our own way when we don't do a'mal salihah. We're standing in our own way when we don't stay with Allah Azza wa Jal. If a shepherd can rule a country, the opportunity is endless for us. Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, at 13 he wasn't allowed to fight in the battle of Badr. Who knows who Zayd ibn Thabit is? We have to know who Zayd ibn Thabit is. Anyone? No? See that Quran right there? Whenever you read that, he gets the reward. Let me tell you his story. It's just actually a very, very small portion of his story. Zayd ibn Thabit at 13, he was refused to enter the battle of Badr. At the age of 14, the next year, he was refused to enter the battle of Uhud. At the age of 16, he was allowed into the battle of the trench. Ma'arakat al-Khandaq. What did he do between 14 and 16? Did he kick back complaining that they didn't let him fight? He wanted to do anything just to be close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he told his mother, I want to memorize the Quran. And word got around, and they kept talking from person to person to person to be able to put him in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to learn the Quran. Zayd ibn Thabit from the age of 14 to 16 memorized the Quran, or most of the Quran, from the mouth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imagine that. From the mouth of Rasulullah, from the mouth of the man who received the wahi. Zayd ibn Thabit did not stop there. The Prophet ﷺ saw in him intelligence. So he gave him another job. He was only 16. He gave him one of the greatest jobs. A job that will keep him in the action his entire life. What was that? He told him, you are an intelligent child. Go and learn the language of the Jews and the language of the Syriac language for non-Arabs. And he became the Prophet ﷺ's translator. Every big, great meeting and contract that the Prophet ﷺ made, he was there. And he was only young. He became the translator of the Prophet ﷺ. And his story is long. But Abu Bakr, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu became Khalifa, he chose Zayd ibn Thabit out of all the companions to compile the Quran. Imagine that. This child, because of his sacrifice that he's striving for Allah Azza wa Jal, because he loved his deen so much and he wanted and he went for it. He became the man who is responsible for that Quran that's sitting on every single shelf of every single Muslim in the world. Every single letter you read, he gets a reward for it. Look at what happens when you're with Allah Azza wa Jal. The opportunities are endless. You have to sacrifice and strive for Allah Azza wa Jal. Perfect your worship. Perfect your dua. Musa alayhi salam walked through the desert until his sandals wore out. Then he continued walking until his feet, the skin of his feet wore out. He was walking on flesh. He was walking on flesh. No food, no water. He finally got to the well. He sat under the tree. He could not move. Yet he was so close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He loved Allah Azza wa Jalla so much. He was so strict to the truth and the haqq that when he saw those two women not able to allow their sheep to drink, he pushed through all the men while walking on flesh, no skin on his feet. He pushed through all the men and took those women's sheep and let them drink water and sent them back with him. Because he stood by the truth, because he stood by Allah Azza wa Jalla, what happened? That simple action got him married and got him work for 10 years. It got him married, a man who had nothing, he was dying, he didn't even have skin on his feet. Not only didn't he have anything, he didn't even have any skin on his feet. He ended up going to this man, he wanted to reward him for the action that he had done. He gave him one of his daughters and he allowed him to work for 10 years. Turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. Stick to your deen. We need him the most now. We need the dua the most now. The more pressure we get under, the more we turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. That's the beauty of Islam. The more you need help, the more you turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. Not the more you move away. Worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Work towards Jannah. There are tens of organizations, of Islamic organizations, all over these areas. They're all working for Allah. Everyone in their different way and their different method. Work for Allah. Work in the da'wah. The environment will help you build your iman, build your actions, your righteous actions. We are in a kafir country. The stronger opinion amongst the scholars is we shouldn't even be allowed to live here. But if you're doing da'wah, you're perfectly within your limits. Work for Allah Azza wa Jal. Perfect your actions. Have great worship and actions so that Allah Azza wa Jal will protect you in this world and He grants you the highest of paradise in the hereafter. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إلى كل خير ومن أراد غير ذلك فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. يا جبار يا منتقم. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار، مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. اللهم اغفر وارحم المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. تقدم